Hey everybody, welcome back to Chain Stitch Tutorials. You guys, if you've made it this far, we are over halfway through my 90 variation chain stitch sampler. So if you have been stitching along with us, give yourself a little pat on the back for getting through all of these different stitches. We are finishing up circle number 4 today. That is 4 out of 7, so we still do have 3 more circles to come, lots more variations on chain, and we are only getting crazier from here on out. Today we're doing something that's really simple and yet looks awesome. This is going to be Pekinese chain. We're going to do both single and double because they look very different and they're both lots of fun. So let's get started with single Pekinese chain. This one's going to be stitched on this second to last circle on your pattern here. If you already did your outer circle back with that whipped chain stitch video, then this will be the last thing you have to do on this circle. And once again, just like these previous videos, I've already pre-sewn a line of chain stitch all the way around this circle because once again, that is your base. You need just regular chain stitch all the way around. And once again, if you need a tutorial on that basic chain stitch, I will link that up in the corner here. After you have your basic row of chain stitch down, we're going to start our single Pekinese by threading the needle with another color. Here I am once again using the DMC cotton pearl style of thread because I love the thickness and the texture this gives here. You can use anything you want. You can just use regular embroidery floss. You can use all 6 strands if you want something thicker that has a bit more texture to it here, whatever you please. But on this circle, you may have noticed I'm really liking my cotton pearl. Now we're going to start by coming up at the base of our very first chain stitch. And now the thing about Pekinese that makes it different than whipped and interlaced chain stitch is that it skips one loop and it slides under the next one. And then it comes back through the one you skipped, going over itself. That's probably enough to explain once you see what's happening here, but I'll go through it again. So what you're gonna do after you've come up through the fabric, you're gonna skip one of your chain loops and you're gonna slide your needle underneath the legs of the second chain loop. Make sure you leave yourself some slack there, don't pull too tight just to make it easy to come through. And then you're going to draw your needle back down, sliding underneath the legs between the thread and the fabric. You're not going through anything here. And you're coming back through this very first loop. And as you come underneath that first chain loop, you're also going through the little loop you've created underneath with this second piece of thread. So that's how you get this really scroll-like pattern around your chain stitch as you go. Really easy. You're going to keep doing that same thing. So now you're skipping your next loop, going up underneath the legs, and then back down under the legs of the second loop, coming through the loop of thread you've just created and carrying on like so. You're going to do that all the way to the end and then take your thread back through the fabric and you are done with your single Pekinese chain stitch. Now we'll move on to double Pekinese chain stitch, which I absolutely love. I need to find more reasons to use this because it has so much texture, so much interest to it. I just love it. Now, here's something I did when I first started stitching this. I started doing the exact same thing that I had done on the single Pekinese stitch, where you slide your needle under both legs of your chain loop, back down through both legs of the previous chain loop, etc. I forgot that what makes the double Pekinese look really good is if you only go through one side of your chain loops. So as you start your first side of Pekinese stitch, we're going to do a second side, and that's what makes it double Pekinese. You're going to come up through the fabric, and then you're sliding your needle under only the outside leg of that second chain loop, coming back down underneath the outside leg of your first chain loop, going through the loop that you've created with your new thread, just like we did before, and then carrying on like so, all the way to the end. So by only going through one side or one leg of your chain stitch rather than underneath the entire thing, that means that you get this little stitch of your second color right here over the connecting part of your chain stitch. And as we do our second row of Pekinese, that's gonna also lay over there. So you just get a completely different look by doing it this way. And when I did it with both sides of the Pekinese going all the way under the stitches, I was so confused for a moment because it didn't look that interesting at all. And I had to go back and look at my previous videos, and then I realized I was doing it wrong. So I highly recommend doing it this way to get that really interesting texture. Once you've gotten to the end, you can go through the fabric and come back up through the fabric just to sort of anchor that Pekinese down, or you can just slide underneath that final loop if that is what you prefer. And then you're coming back in the other direction, doing the exact same thing. You're now on the inside of your chain stitch here, but you're going just underneath that one side of the chain loop, underneath one leg, and then back down underneath just one leg, going through the loop you've created, carrying on like so, all the way to the end. And I will note this looks a lot more interesting, both with the thicker thread and if you don't pull too tight. I'm giving it a decent amount of tension, but I'm not yanking my thread as I create each Pekinese stitch, because otherwise that's like trying to make all of the threads disappear into the original one. You want these really pretty scalloped loops here, so you want to just slide it through gently, give it a bit of tension, but don't go yanking your threads as you create your Pekinese. Once you get to the end, again, you're going all the way through the fabric with that thread and tying it off on the back, and there you go, you're done. This texture is fabulous. I love the double Pekinese stitch, and I'd love to see what you guys are able to use it for. And that's it, that's all for today. Again, 2 really easy stitches. I am so glad that you have been joining me for these tutorials up to here. I'm trying to kind of sprinkle in these harder stitches like those rosette and the braided band ones, along with these nice easy ones like whipped, interlaced, and Pekinese as we move forward. So I hope you guys have been able to practice and master every single stitch so far, and I cannot wait to bring you circle number 5 and all of the interesting things you will find there, another 13 stitches as we move closer to completing our sampler. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you next time.